Welcome to part 6 of 8 of our video series for the Micro Focus iPrint Appliance 2.0. My name is Bob Johnson with Micro Focus Technical Support, and in this video we are going to talk about a new feature in the iPrint Appliance 2.0 called WalkUp printing. This is a brief overview of the WalkUp printing process. As an administrator, you'll create a WalkUp printer, which is a virtual queue representing a group of similar printers. Once created, an end user can install the WalkUp printer, and when they send a job to the WalkUp printer, the server will hold the print job until the end user accessing a release portal on any web-enabled device releases the print job to the selected printer. And we will demonstrate this process in this video. To create a WalkUp printer, we log into the Management Console, open a web browser, and go to https:// the DNS name or IP address of your appliance, :9443. Log in as VA admin. Click on Manage iPrint Appliance. And notice currently I have 5 printers created in my iPrint appliance. They are all Dell 1135 printers, but they reside on different floors throughout my organization. To create a WalkUp printer group for these 5 printers, click on WalkUp Printers, click New. And at this point, you can name your WalkUp printer whatever you'd like. I'm going to actually call mine Dell 1135 WalkUp. And WalkUp printer. And I will enable this WalkUp printer for mobile printing. And I want to add all 5 of my available printers. So I click on that arrow. These printers have to be similar in that, for example, if I had in my available printers list a inkjet printer, and I included that among these Dell printers in the WalkUp printer group, most likely if a user were to try to print to that inkjet printer, the output could be garbled because the printer drivers are so unique between the printers. In this case, because all of my printers are Dell 1135 printers, they can all be part of this WalkUp printer group. Note that one of the most powerful features of a WalkUp printer is the ability to group various printers that could possibly be printed to using the same driver. As an example, if I have a group of PostScript printers, it may be possible to group them all into one WalkUp printer group, assuming I found a driver that was compatible with each printer. And the same would apply to a PCL5 or a PCL6 printer group. The best way to know would be to group the similar printers, associate the drivers, and then test printing to see if printing is successful. We will proceed with the demonstration. Click Next. And I have a Windows 10 driver. I also have Windows 7 64-bit drivers. And if your WalkUp printers support bidirectional communication, you put in an IP address of one of the printers in that group. And click Finish. And that's all there is to creating a WalkUp printer. As an administrator, you may want to configure the amount of time a job is held for the WalkUp printer that you create. To do that, just click on this area to the right of the printer and click on Settings. By default, the job hold duration is 4 hours. You can adjust that as needed depending on your environment. And once you make that change, just click OK. And that setting has been changed. The other options, if you had not enabled mobile printing during the creation of the WalkUp printer like we did, you can drop down this option and choose Enable. The other option, you can click on the actual printer name and you can select this option here to enable the printer for mobile printing. You can also add additional printers to the WalkUp printer you've configured. The Drivers tab allows you to associate additional drivers or change the driver association for this WalkUp printer. And once you make those changes, click Save. And you can click back on the WalkUp printer's link to return you to the screen. Now that the WalkUp printer has been created, our users can go to the IPP printer installation page. So if I go to the DNS name of my appliance /IPP, I now see the Dell 1135 WalkUp printer in my install printer list. I click on this link, and when I do, a WalkUp printer requires a user to authenticate. This is so that when a user sends a print job to the WalkUp printer, it knows which print jobs belong to which users. And you'll see that when we release this print job through the release portal. Also, if you'll remember in our earlier video, we went through an import user process, importing users from our eDirectory production server. And this is one of the purposes for doing a user import, because in order to use WalkUp printing, a user must have an account in the iPrint appliance. If you remember, one of our users we imported was called user1 password. We can click on remember password, and that way if there's an authentication for this user, again the password and username will be remembered. Click OK. This is a good message to see. Just because we've created a WalkUp printer and the user happens to have an account on the appliance, it still doesn't mean that they have access to this particular printer. We have to give this user access to be able to install the printer. And this is done through iManager. Open a browser and go to the IP address or DNS name of the appliance /NPS and go to iPrint, go to Manage Printer, Browse, and in the iPrint appliance organizational unit we have our Dell 1135 WalkUp printer. Click OK. Click Access Control. And here we can add either our individual user if we would like, or we can add the entire Novell O, which is what we'll do, and that'll grant all users. In fact, let's get even more specific. We'll grant the users OU. And let's remove Novell. So every user in users.novell should now have access to install this WalkUp printer. Click Apply, click OK. And now, because we have been granted access and because I told it to remember my password, it's passed the authentication, verified that I have rights, and I will click Yes to install the printer. And we get the status indicating that the printer has been installed. Click OK. Now that I have the WalkUp printer installed to my desktop, let's demonstrate how this technology works. For this example, I'll use LibreOffice. I've simply typed "this is a test." I'll click File, Print. I've selected the Dell 1135 WalkUp printer that we created. I'll click OK. the end user will get a notification, as you see here, the document submitted to the WalkUp printer is on hold. As an administrator, you could go to the PSM status page for the WalkUp printer, click on job list, and then you'll see that the job is on hold. You can see the job owner information as well. Let's assume for the purpose of this test that I've printed this document from my office and I happen to be on the first floor. And at some point later in the day, I realize I need to print this document and I'm in a meeting on the fourth floor. And knowing that my administrator has configured this WalkUp printing feature, I now can go to the nearest printer as part of the WalkUp printer group, and I can release the print job to the printer through a release portal. So with any web-enabled device, I can open a browser, and for this purposes we'll use an iPad. I've already gone to the release portal. A user will go to the DNS name /user to get to this release portal. Note that the release portal URL is the IP address or DNS name of the appliance /user, as in this example, iprint.johnsonlab.com/user. You do not specify the name of the user releasing the job in the URL. And then they'll log in with their username. And again, in our example, we use user1 and the password. Sign in. We will say not now. And here's the document that I've printed, and you can see it's at the default expiration time. I have 3 hours and 52 minutes. I select the document that I want to print, press print, and then I'm given a list of all of the printers that are part of this WalkUp printer group. And since I'm on the fourth floor, I will select Dell 1135 floor 4, press OK, and I get a status letting me know that the job is printed successfully to the printer, and it has now been released. This concludes our WalkUp printing demonstration. For additional information concerning WalkUp printing, please refer to the documentation found at this link. In our next video, video 7 of our 8-part series, we will migrate iPrint from NetWare to the iPrint Appliance 2.0. Thank you for watching.